good. I'm glad it went well.
Thank you. I didn't drop the wedding cake, so that was good.
See, I would be afraid that I would like trip and fall down the aisle. That would be something I would do.
Yeah, it's funny. I wasn't worried so much about that. I don't know. It's so surreal and it just goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
I need to watch the video to relive it all again.
Did you have someone video it?
Yeah, because I wanted my mum to be able to see it. So yeah, I think we only went for like 26 minutes or something. But
That's pretty good.
yeah, and they videoed some of the speeches and stuff for us as well.
So sweet.
And Kurt did have photos, so haven't seen them yet, but he took 650 photos or something.
Wow. Like, how do you get through them?
I don't know how I'm going to dig through that, but we'll get there.
But one day you'll be happy that you have that many. That would be so cool.
I pulled a few faces at him along the way, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Only one to go fun.
I wonder how long it'll take to get them all back, though. Probably a couple months.
Well, he's just going to give us the stick, so I just have to download them and then work out what we want to do.
Okay, so they don't like edit them or anything, they just give you the.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good.
Especially when it's nice, right? I mean, it's nice that he came out of retirement for it, so.
You must be pretty special then.
Well, we live next door to them now, so. Cindy was so cute. Cindy was amazing. She didn't just direct the photos, she directed me as well.
Oh, really? She posed you and did all the things?
Yeah, maybe some words before I walked down the aisle.
Oh, that's good.
Told them where to do stuff.
That's
So yeah, no. And that wedding day is really cute. Like,
where was it?
it's called Chimes and Occasions in Cooper Street. And the lady just gives you the keys and lets you go for it.
So chill. Very hands off. That could be a good thing.
Hello!
How are you?
How are you?
Good. Oh, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. We'll need your help someday.
What you got going on?
Won't be 400 miles away from here.
We'll talk after.
We'll talk after.
We'll
Sure.
talk after.
I was going to call you later.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll talk. Wow. See that? That was impressive. You saw that, didn't you?
I did. I'm with you.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Again, my topic is I'm not there. She's just going down. Yeah,
We're going on forward.
I know, we're getting there.
You did good.
Sure.
Girl pros already.
You can still see the
A lot of friends. I appreciate it so much. That's the best medicine you could ever give us. You know, the training is just not all the complaining, talking behind my back. It's wonderful. The foundation, I think, is the most devoted to that. It's wonderful. Giving me back my beliefs. I said, it's meant for the church. No, I mean that. I've walked around with trust issues for years. Until I came here and seeing how they behave, it all starts like that.
How's everybody?
I'm better.
You better?
I'm better.
It's good to be better. And not worse.
Had a better day at work.
That's always good.
We're getting to celebrate. We just got 2 days left of that. That's a lot.
I didn't know people in the work industry still got fall breaks, but you do you. I mean, I don't see people in the hospital business getting fall breaks. You, I mean,
My students told me that today. They said, have a great fall break. I said, yeah, I'll be here. I won't have a fall break. I'll be here. They're like, oh, can we get a break? I'm like, no. That's horrible adulthood. I know.
Yeah, it's like those funny videos. The girl comes up and she closes her book and she goes, okay, I'll see you on September. Like, no, this is a job. You'll be here tomorrow. Yeah, well, I got to come all summer. Oh, yeah, you're coming all summer. Yeah. All right. Alan, would you mind leading our minds in a word of prayer, please?
I will.
Thanks, sir.
Let's go out in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this beautiful day and all the many blessings that you've given us. We ask that you help us to take what we learn here, take this lesson, apply it to our lives, apply it to our marriages, help us to grow closer to God, help us to build hedges around our marriages, help us to walk on the narrow path, do the right thing, and make good decisions. Keep us from the evil one and forgive us when we sin, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alan. As you can see, I'm not Dennis. I am, but not that one. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, I am Dennis Christopher, but not that Dennis. Anybody that calls me Dennis, I will not respond to that. So let's do that, y'all. So, but yeah, he's out of town. So I'm going to finish up lesson 5, the biblical basis for hedges. And I think we got to the second page of that. But I wanted to start, it talks about between our ears. And a lot of this is just, to me, it's a lot of common sense to me. And you correct me if I'm wrong. Putting yourself in the right position at the right time. And I think it's some interesting anecdotes that we'll talk about. And some of the things that you've done or not done. But the biggest thing is, and obviously the one thing I underlined in the between our ears is the attitude. But isn't that pretty much the case for everything that we tackle? It's always the attitude behind the action. And, you know, a lot of times it's, you know, putting yourself in the position to want to do something or not want to do something. So if you set your mind to do something, there's nobody in here that doesn't go attack it because that's what you want to do. No matter if it's trying to hit the perfect golf ball or trying to grow the perfect garden or whatever your interest is, that's what you put all of your interest and time into. So a lot of our time and energy, is it fair to say that our spouse or our mate that we're looking for, wouldn't it be fair to continue to put the same kind of time and energy into that relationship that you always have? I listened to a doctor of psychology, and a lot of people don't like her. She's pretty strong opinionated and willed, but she doesn't take anything from anybody. And the thing that makes me a little bit uncomfortable with her is she takes all emotion out of the reasoning process of making decisions. And honestly, she has no biblical basis of marriage. So I don't subscribe to everything of the harshness of reality. But the one thing I do like that she addresses is that when an older married couple comes in, or when they call in the radio program with a problem, they want to know, are you still his girlfriend? Are you still her boyfriend? Are you still doing the little things for each other that you did in the very beginning? And I think that's an important distinction, that you continue to do some little things. It may be little, but it's really huge when your spouse feels the appreciation of your time and your energy and your thought process to think, hey, he thought about me today, or she thought about me. She did just this little thing for me today. And that means a lot. And so the man that you want to date, and the woman that you want to date, I think you can pick up on those clues when you're having these discussions about, are they really in tune to my wants and needs and those kind of things. The obvious big things are, am I physically attracted? Do I want to spend time with them? Can we carry on a conversation? Those are fairly obvious things. Just the little things you need to be looking for. You're looking for the things of, are they Christian minded? Or we want to go to church together? Is going to be a biblical basis for a reconciliation or any problems with that? So you got to pick up on a lot of these little bitty clues, and that comes back to attitude and being between the ears. That's what this section means to me. Does anybody have any other opinions or questions on that before we move on? I know Dennis gave us these sheets Sunday, had a lot of good verses on there. So the one thing that I would say is one of the practical examples of Hedges at the bottom of that sheet, if you don't have it, that's okay. It says prioritizing regular time with your spouse. So as we get older, as things get in the way, don't forget to prioritize, even if it's a short window of period of time. Nothing comes first before that person that you committed to. Nothing. And that was a hard thing when my kids were really, really little, because I needed Amy just as much as I ever did. But I couldn't get the same kind of attention because she had two other things to worry about also. And it would have been easy for me to get offended at times to think that I was at first. And I think that I always was, but the time constraints and the commitments of what the kids needed, I could feed myself, I could change myself, I can do those little things for myself. And it takes a toll on her mentally and physically. And men, if we don't recognize that, it's a bad mistake. They're our kids too. You're not babysitting your kids. You have just as much responsibility to do that for her, with her, whatever, however you want to see that, and give her a break. I promise you that will go a long way in being the leader of your house. It's those kind of little things that you need to be paying attention to. Okay. So, adultery causes chaos. I don't think there's anything outstandingly vague about that. It disrupts the home. A lot of times, how many times have you talked to a friend that cheated? Oh, we're just friends. They'll deny it. But that's with anything that's bad. And it's not just this. There's always a deceptive piece to someone always wanting to hide that sin for as long as they can. And they want to fool themselves into thinking. I wanted to come back one thing because I knew I was forgetting something. The one thing on this radio program was, no matter how you feel about it, when one spouse cheated on the other. Okay, so I remember this one to where this one just happened to be where the woman called in, her husband had cheated on her, and she was just about to go off on how bad of a guy this guy was. And he may be, right, Will? He may be. I mean, obviously he did what he did. But her first question is, what did you do to cause him to do that? And just completely threw her off her game, right? So, and I thought it was kind of a shocking question, but it's fair. What did you quit doing for him that made him want to go look? And I don't know if it could be 100% on him. He may just be a complete scumbag. Let's just be honest, because I don't know. But it's a fair question. We always quit looking in the mirror about what I can do better for my spouse. I can't resolve my responsibility for taking ownership and continuing to do the nurturing, the small things for my spouse. And I think you want a mate that does that. Be careful about, let me ask y'all an opinion. Can can people of the opposite sex be good friends?
I'm gonna say yes, but there still has to be a boundary at certain place if you intend for this to be just a friendship. And good friends, I do think when I was at Florida College having, guys I considered to be a good friend, that there was a set of boundary in place. Even though we both live on campus, I'm not going into your dorm room.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to say not go in the dorm as little as possible. And if I did, we stayed first floor in the lobby. There's no going upstairs, no asking him to come over to mine. And there is no trying to go off campus when it's just him and me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go with the group. Which, in those days, was pretty easy to do. Because there's so many of us on campus.
So when you're talking about, I have friends. If I break it down, I don't have a close girl friend. I don't. I'm spoken a conversation to say, should men have and should women have close personal friends of the opposite sex? And I'm not saying it's a sin either way. And I'm just making the case that you got to be aware of what we're dealing with. To me, a close personal friend is someone I can share a lot of things with that I don't share with a lot of people. A lot of my hopes, a lot of my dreams. I talked to my college roommate today. Lost his father-in-law unexpectedly. Lost his mom about a month ago. I would not share that with another lady. I don't get that kind of emotional connection with somebody else. I do that with my spouse. So a lot of times when I'm talking about a close personal friend, it's the emotional energy that you're giving to that person of the opposite sex that's not your wife. I'm not sure. I don't think that's a good idea. Me personally, I don't want to cross that boundary. William, you had your hand up.
Yeah. And then I got married 43 years ago. Mm-hmm. We agreed, no friends about the sex. I deleted all female friends from my phone. When I got married, that was it. And the hedge, and that's the hedge. That's the hedge. You got to put the hedge. I cannot have friends of the opposite sex because it's not going to go well with my wife.
Yeah.
You see, so on the front end, in the beginning of our marriage, no. So I don't have a problem. Neither she have a problem. We don't do that. We decided not to do that when we got married. We don't have friends of the opposite sex. In my marriage.
Does anybody feel differently about that you care to comment on?
I've got friends that I've known since primary school, and some
Sure.
of them came over for the wedding and things like that.
Sure.
But I think now that I'm with Wayne, that I have to set boundaries and be more appropriate in the sense of like not having those personal conversations anymore and not sharing all those things with them. But you've still got that friendship of just general chit chat. How are you
Right.
doing?
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't give them up for anything really because I've known them my whole life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I have friends. I have girlfriends. I'm friendly with some ladies. You know what I'm saying?
No, you got to do.
I feel like I'm big.
Break that down.
No. And I'm not trying to say I have girlfriends, but that's just what it is. It's a superficial. It's a friendly, and I have friends from high school, from on Facebook, and that I've seen with, and I'm friendly with them. And I may like a picture. I very rarely comment, but I'm a guy, and the guys normally don't comment anyway, and whatever. So, but I keep that. That's my hedge for me. I don't want to give them any reason to think that I'm not happy with where I am in life and who I am.
Just for example reasons to comment.
we have like a neighbor down like the street who I like work with, a guy, and so he's married, you know, but we like chit chat about like work things at work, or if we'll text about work. But I think something that we try to do, at least I do, with if it involves like texting him outside of work, we all are in a group chat together. So like they've asked us to come watch their dog one time. That's all been like in a group chat with all four of us, like his wife, him, you know, me and Seth. And like I wouldn't go over there to like help watch the dog by myself, like, which they were gone when we watched the dog, you know, took the kids with me, but you know, Seth would go over there. Again, they weren't there, so, but like I'm not going like in their house. We borrowed a ladder from them the other day. Like his wife was home, but if she wasn't, I'm not going. Like if like we're not going in the house, we're staying in the driveway. Like, you know, just certain boundaries like that. Again, I know it's not really like what you're talking about, but just for commenting purposes.
No, it is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Because you recognizing that's there's an appropriate way to text and communicate and a not appropriate way.
Yeah.
So that's the boundary that we're looking for. That's exactly what we're trying to make the distinction between. Because just texting another man or a woman is inherently not the issue.
Yeah.
It's understanding that there is going to be some boundaries there that you need to protect. That's the point.
And there was one night, like after church, like I got home first, and Seth like went somewhere else, and our garage was up, and I was like, that's weird. Well, I called his wife, and it said, can y'all come over to be here? Like I don't want to go inside, you know, with the kids or myself. And I didn't call him. I didn't ask just him. You know, we try to just involve the other person as much as we can. Things like that.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's great, and sometimes it could be subtle. Look how easy it would be if you did something nice for them dog sitting and said, hey, I want to cook you a nice dinner. Just you. No, that's not gonna work. You know, or it could be a subtle compliment. Hey, I wish my husband was as good as you. Well, my wife don't treat me though, you know, she never gives me a compliment like you just did. There we go. You know, you never know. So, you know, in today's world, you just have to be careful. And a lot of times it's a little unfortunate, but in our environment today, it just has to be, we have to be on guard for whatever our boundary needs to be. But I think that's a great comment because that's exactly what we're talking about. 1 Corinthians 10, in verse 13. And how many times has a parent or a spouse, or how many times have we studied verse 13? It says, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it. How many of you have ever heard the excuse that I didn't have the ability to overcome it in that situation? How many have ever heard something like that? I have used that excuse with my parents growing up. Say, hey, Dad, Mom, I know I messed up, but I was put in a position that I had a hard time from peer pressure saying no. The response was, well, you shouldn't have driven to the party. You put yourself there. You see where I am? So when you put yourself in a position, if you put yourself in the wrong position, you're going to have a hard time being tempted beyond your ability. But you drove yourself there. And we have to recognize that. And that's the thing that if y'all have kids, if they haven't used it on you yet, they will. And because when they want to do something, hey, Mom and Dad, I can handle it. We've been there and done that. We've used your excuse you're about to give me. So the answer is no. And I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. So, and I think that applies to our spouse. If you think you're going to be tempted, don't go meet the person. Don't go have that conversation. Don't allow the text to creep in on a separate thread that starts out innocent. And don't allow, understand where your boundary is and where your hedge is to make sure that you're not tempted beyond what you can say no to. And that's anything.
I think it's about respecting other people's marriages as well. Like, you respect your friends' marriages, you're not going to be running around doing the wrong thing with them.
Remember that you got over about 45% of the people in this country don't have the same view of marriage that we do, that the Christian does. And that 45%, they're not all of the world either. There's a lot of morally Christian-based, by their definition, people. So it's not just your non-Christian atheists that are getting divorced here. I mean, it's happening to everybody. And we can't turn a blind eye to think that it could happen to anybody at any time for any reason. And you don't give anybody a crack to get in. And we all understand the basis in everything else that we do, but you can't allow somebody else to potentially take advantage. I have had an opinion that there's been at least 2 people, and I don't want to talk about Amy because she's not here, that I thought was hitting on her. And she didn't think so. And they may not have been. But when she told me, because it was innocent, what she was telling me, but they shared with her how unhappy they were in her marriage, in their marriage. I'm like, no, that's not a conversation you should be having with my Amy. That's not appropriate at all. Where she was taking that as a compliment that they were sharing. I'm like, no. Because if y'all know Amy, she's that kind of person. She wants to help. She wants to be that nurturing piece. I'm like, no, you're not that person. So, and if Amy was the kind of person that would be receptive to that, you never know. See where I'm going? So that would never be an appropriate conversation with another female to me to tell me how unhappy they were in their marriage, or vice versa. That's never appropriate, Jeff.
I was going to say that you really don't know what the other relationship is lacking.
Yeah.
And so by opening doors for attention or communication or understanding, they're not getting it in their relationship. If they get it from you, they start to see in a different light as providing something that their spouse isn't giving them. So you become that emotional outreach and that constant call for attention that they've been wanting in their spouse. They're going to get it from someone else.
How many of you go out to eat once you just had dinner? Nobody goes to the buffet if you're full. Nobody's looking for something different if you're already full. So when you've got people in marriages that are making these kind of comments, they're not satisfied. They're not full at home. They're looking to eat somewhere else. And so we have to keep that in mind. And, I just don't, when it comes down to a matter of trust, it's not that I don't trust anybody, but I don't trust anybody. I don't mean that crude. I don't take that chance. And I don't mean they're a bad person, but I don't allow them to cross the line with me. But that's my hedge. That's how I view it. And not every person's bad. And so I'm just saying that, but the recognition that needs to exist is paramount. 2 Timothy 2:22. So flee youthful passions and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Isn't that true from when we're younger to as we're getting older? That never changes. That never changes. the older I get, the longer I have been married, the more I try to do these things. But these things change. My righteousness, my faith, my love for the other person, my love for the Lord, all of these things have continued to develop, to be strengthened, to get better. I don't know what kind of guy I was at 30 with the kids over 20 years ago, but I know I'm a lot different. But it's hard to define how I'm different. But I want to think that I've gotten better and stronger and more considerate, more thoughtful, more respectful of the other person's feelings. And society's telling us all these things. It's all about me and how I feel, and how you treat me, how you talk to me. And there's not a lot of reciprocation for the thought process and the courteousness of the person that I may be offending or not offending. And I think for me is that what I may consider innocent may be offensive to Amy. And it may not be the example that I want to set for my children. For what would happen if my kids were reading my text to this individual? Would they think that was appropriate? So if we put those kind of bases in place, then we can put away these youthful passions and ridiculous earthly things, and keep focused on what's the most important thing with a pure heart, as Timothy says. Any comments on this so far?
I think the key to this is the pure heart, because what you consider as a friend, I may have a sister in Christ that I consider a friend, but where's that gray line where a friend is the neighbor, or a friend is someone that's pure in heart and true with the Lord? So, that's kind of the hedge you've got to pick yourself as well.
Yeah, I think we have to. How many of you would think it would be appropriate? Abby, I'm going to use you for a minute. Okay. She works at Labana with Amy. Okay. So she's new here. She just moved here from Kentucky, right? New job, new city. Would there anybody in this room that think it would be appropriate as an elder to say, hey, I know you're new to the area. I want to welcome you to Memphis and East Shelby. Let me come pick you up, take you out for coffee, and get to know you better. Is there anybody in this room that think that would be appropriate?
Not if it's one-on-one, no.
Anybody? No. I can do that with Amy. Right? We can have coffee at Labana, or we can take her out to dinner, the three of us. There's nothing that I can show her or tell her that I can't do with my spouse by my side. And I think that's the thing that we have to understand, that that's not even a thing to even pursue or even to think about in our mind. And if we're dating a guy that thinks that would be okay, may want to have some more conversations about the kind of guy that we're talking to. To think that, well, what's the big deal? Don't you trust? I don't trust them. So I used to say the same thing when I go out. I want to stay out past midnight. There's a lot of drunks on the road. Don't you trust me? You got nothing to do with that. I don't want to put you in a situation to even make that an issue. Not even going to put myself there. Because now we're coming back to 1 Corinthians 10:13. I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm tempted beyond what I can control. Don't even put yourself there. I don't go to Hooters because I like the wings. I don't even go there. That's not even a restaurant I want to entertain a thought process. So that's the kind of thing that I think we'll always have to be made aware of and have a basis. Wayne, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just being out after midnight, it's not something that I would ever want to have to call my wife and say, hey, I need you to come pick me up.
Yeah.
Because that's, if I'm out that late, I don't want her out that late. Why am I out that late?
Yeah.
But it goes back both ways.
Yep. It could. It's usually not a good phone call.
No, it's not.
That's not a good phone call. So, yeah. John 8, 3 through 11. And a lot of us may be familiar with this story. If not, it's okay. And this is the story of the woman that was caught in adultery. Everybody knows the story. If you've read your book. What was the interesting thing about what he told everybody? What's the thought process of this story?
It's really supposed to be about trying to trap Jesus. When the Pharisees brought this woman to him, it wasn't so much the woman as it was the Jesus they were trying to trap and to trick. Because in the days of the Roman Empire, only one who could sentence someone to death, I said, were the Romans. Even the Sanhedrin couldn't do that. They're trying to come up with an example or reason why the Romans have to get involved and execute or crucify to Jesus. So really what they're trying to do is lay a trap for him. The woman was just the cattle. And Jesus, he knows the law of Moses, the ways of God, better than anyone else ever will. And that's why he's just very calm, almost a little bit distracted. He gets down, starts drawing on the ground. And they ask him, and they say, we found this woman caught in the act. The law of Moses commands that such and such should be stoned. And he stands up and says, well, depending on which version of the Bible you're reading, it's he who is without sin, let him throw the first stone at her. Or sometimes you hear it as, would you who have never sinned be the first one to throw the stone? And one by one their conscience wakes up and they drop the stone and they walk away. It may not have been adultery they were guilty of, but they all know that they've done something wrong.
Wayne?
Always brought him by the road. Where's the man? If they only brought the woman to him.
Yeah.
If they caught her in the act, where's the man?
Yeah.
So there's every single one of them were guilty of not bringing the man with them too.
Yeah, just her.
Mm-hmm.
Takes two, right? And it is interesting because Jesus could have thrown the first stone. Because he was the only one that was without sin, but he didn't throw the stone. But when he says, go and sin no more, he didn't say just go. So there was going to be a change of action that was going to have to take place. And because you can't continue in that sin. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with today, that we can have, there's no sin that's greater than the other, but the consequences may be different. There's no difference in adultery and cheating on your taxes, but the consequences may be drastically different, especially if it's unrepentant, right? So, but that doesn't mean that an adulterous person could go remarry. We know where Matthew 19 comes into play with this one now. If you're the one that's committing the act, you would have no right to remarry because it's except for fornication. The one that's innocent could remarry, right? So there's consequences to the action of that, right? So we still got to come back to a biblical basis, but go and sin no more. So has any of you ever thought about it? I don't subscribe to this in any way, but some people want to talk about judging and being condemning to people, that to make the case, and if you read him, I'm not really sure if I'm following what he's saying, but when he says, he who is without sin cast the first stone, does that mean that since we have a sin that we can't condemn or correct or rebuke anybody? Is that what Jesus was saying here? I don't think so. I don't get that out of this. Right? There's too many other passages that allude that that's in the sake of rebuking and a righteous judgment that says in Matthew that we have to hold ourselves accountable to the scriptures. Right? But it was the inconsistency that Wayne brought up, the hypocrisy. It was the hypocrisy of it all. That was the condemning feature here.
They didn't bring the nail.
Right. But
they condemned the woman.
Let's not be afraid to answer that potential question. It's like, just because you have sin doesn't mean you can't correct me, because see, Jesus didn't. He told them they could because they were with sin. That's not what this means. That's not the context of what this means. Right. So it's important to make these kind of distinctions because we wouldn't want somebody else to be hypocritical, especially ourselves. We have to teach the truth in a biblical context in all cases. If we can't back it up scripturally, then we're no better than anybody else that we're trying to teach. We have to be able to understand how to reason through and articulate what these means and what God wants us to get out of it. Good point, though, Wayne. It's good. We have to make that distinction. Matthew 5. Matthew 5. Who can read 27 and 28 for me? Matthew 5, 27 and 28.
You have heard that it was said to those of old, you should not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Thank
you, Linda. Think about this. We just came through the Beatitudes, and the discussion was the Ten Commandments are in the Old Testament, but those same commandments are in the new law, in the Newer Testament, but even stricter codes. And this was what the heart that Christ was trying to tell all of us, is that in these, if I took you back earlier in these 5, in chapter 5, everything said, you have heard, you have heard, you have heard. But I say now, even further, that if you even look on a woman, you've committed adultery. So Christ's law is not giving you a free pass or making it easier. He's even making it more difficult to say, not only is committing adultery wrong, you even look on another woman. You can't even do that. I want you to a higher standard than what you've ever been taught before. Because you've heard, you know all these things. But I'm telling you something even harder, that if you even look at a woman with lustful intent, you've already committed adultery. So the standard is that Christ is even making it more of a challenge to be a Christian, to live out our faith to a higher standard than just your normal old law. Y'all follow me on that? So it's not that the standard has been relaxed. He didn't come to die a cruel death on the cross to relax the standard that was already in place. He already lived that perfectly. So my standard in a mate and in a spouse needs to be high and stay high, even in myself, even in my actions. And if you don't like the way that your relationship is going, then you change it. Quit waiting on your spouse to change it. You change it. You change you first. And if you don't like the way it's going, I think that's the hardest thing to do, is to look in the mirror and say, well, what am I doing? Where am I at fault in this? What am I not doing? Am I being the husband that I should be? Am I being the spouse that I could be? Can it be better? And it's like I say when people say, well, how's the business going? I said, you know I'm in sales, right? It can always be better. Am I content? Sure. It can always be better. Could my marriage be better? Maybe. I don't know. I'm pretty happy. But it ain't perfect. You know? And I may be happier than Amy is. I don't know yet. That's her. But we've had our challenges too. Let's not think that everything is all rosy. Everything that you see on Instagram and Facebook and say, these people look so happy. What am I doing wrong? Folks, that's an illusion. That's not even. Let's not get caught up in comparing ourselves to other people and thinking that they have it perfectly. I remember laughing so hard. Well, I wasn't laughing because it's not funny. But two of my kids' best friends, they were playing. My son was playing competitive baseball with him. Him and Preston were the same age, and his older sister and Kendall were the same age. Went to school together, really good friends. On down the line, they read a Christmas card together about 3 years ago. Just smiling, all happy. It looks like they're just an all-American family. However, what you don't know is she's living with a guy twice her age, and he's got 3 almost grown kids. And he had just come out of an affair on his wife, that they were still trying to work it out. But here they are, right there loud and proud and happy on Instagram, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas on Jesus' birthday. As if they're the all-American family, folks. That's a lot of illusion. And so, and I hope everybody could be as happy as that picture is. But life sometimes ain't happy. And that doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. That just means life's in the way. But don't let it fester. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath if you can help it. Or at least get it to a point where you tell each other you love her, you pray with her. How many of you in here hold hands with your spouse when you pray? And you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Consider doing that. Consider doing that. I know sometimes it could be a challenge if you have kids or whatever, but that's I used to think that was kind of, I don't say silly, but it was like, not really necessary. But that's a powerful thing when your wife reaches over and touches my hand, especially if we're not jihad perfectly, and she wants to hold my hand and pray. Well, I'm not really, okay, yeah, all right. And it's such a softening thing. It reminds you, those little touches, that, yeah, she is the most important thing to me. Yeah, you're probably being dumb again. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. We're going to move on. And we're going to move on quicker than I thought we were. But those little things mean a lot. And so, and there's additional lesson on the touchy touch, and we'll get into some of that. But okay, well, I appreciate y'all's comments. The power of self-deception is this Sunday, lesson 6. So I appreciate y'all's comments.
Yeah, I'm
No, I meant to call you. Well, we got he's left Monday.